Welcome to Certification Planner webinar. Welcome on board. A little bit about us and why you would be interested in doing business with us. 10,000 plus professionals, 200 plus courses, 100 plus certified instructors. We have companies we're accredited with, success standpoint, and there's a couple different slides I'll come back to on success rate. Types of training we offer: corporate training, instructor-led classrooms. The instructor-led we call ILT, instructor-led training, self-study. We talk about accreditation. We teach project management. The other groups, such as Six Sigma, and then Axelos is People Cert. This tree over here, the total sum of our corporate customers. So these are some of the companies that we deal with because we have good relationship with them and they've seen the success that we can bring to the table. I mentioned earlier when I talked about percentages up on that far right-hand slide. This is a little better because in the two Lean Six Sigma, we're really talking about one area is 100% and the other is 94%. PMP and CAPM 94%. From a veteran standpoint, we kind of bend over backwards to help our veterans, do a little extra for them. Our instructors that work with veterans are veterans. I do some veteran training for the company. I am we'll show that in a minute. I am an Army vet. I understand the difficulty a lot of times transitioning from that military environment to the civilian commercial environment. We really want to work and help these people get back in the world. So these is sitting here is 8 comments from people, all good comments, okay, all positive comments. My name's Al Howard. Been in the IT business for years, back when it was called data processing. I've been specifically in the training and consulting business for about 20-25 years. I was a member of the Army Security Agency, and that was my military service. After military, I worked for the Department of Defense in Finance and Accounting. I moved to IBM, spent a number of years with them, worked for college boards, Educational Testing Service, Princeton, New Jersey, consultant and project manager, software developer, operating system developer, AT&T, which became Lucent Technologies, which became General Dynamics, based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. We're going to talk about, there's 5 books on ITIL: Strategy, Design, Transition, Ops, Service Improvement, Continual Service Improvement, okay? What's the value of this whole ITIL thing to you? What's the value to the business? Why do I even want to bother? Well, in some cases, because your company says you will take a foundations course and you have to go learn about it. In other cases, you may find that your service desk, help desk, whatever you want to call that group of people that responds to telephone calls and emails, can't really do the job as well as you'd like to have it done. That's where ITIL would come into play. How many times have you delivered software to the operational environment and you fix 3 things and break 2? That's what ITIL is all about, preventing that from happening. Putting processes and procedures in place that are accepted in the business world as being, we don't use the term best practice because nothing's best for everybody. Better practice. This should be a better way to do things. Let's go from there. ITIL started in the UK in the 80s. It was a UK cabinet office. What happened was somebody in the UK government said, you know what? I don't understand why things keep falling apart every time we try to do something. Is there some way we can better organize to ensure that where companies want to be in 5 or 10 years, we have a process or a series of processes to take them there. So, IT service management practices. They created something called ITIL, IT Infrastructure Library. Think about that in terms of how do I want to do business? It's not a library per se, but how do I want to do business? It's information that has been gathered that tend to be good ways to do business, better ways to do business, in terms of service management. It was looked at, it gets changed continually. That's a good lead in to let you know that we are in version 3. Version 4 comes out first quarter next year. So everybody every instructor, including me, will go through an education course, 2 days, in a location of choice. I really wanted to go to Munich or Frankfurt, but I'm going to end up going to Washington, D.C. because it's closer, it's more convenient. So I'm going to go to D.C. and I am going to spend 2 days, take an exam, pass the exam, and become a version 4 certified individual. You got to remember, if you're talking version 3, there's version 3 certified, we're going to move to version 4. The courseware, the information is continually refined, continually updated, maintained in a good fashion. This says the current version is ITIL 2011, also called ITIL version 3 or V3. Okay. You notice it says IT service management best, and then it says in parentheses better practices. Guys, there are no best practices. There are better practices that we can look at, see how they fit what we want to do, what we want to get accomplished, adapt them to where we are, where we want to go, and that's what this is all about. I'm not going to give you a list of absolute positive things you have to. I'm going to say, hey, here's some information. I want you to use the information as best possible to do a better job for your corporation. Okay? It's public domain. It's out there. It's not like you putting a practice in place within your company and then you can't move people from one division to another division, or you can't get people, hire people on a quickly acclimate because now they have to learn your system. Public domain system, guess what? There are a lot of people out there that are certified that if you need people, you put the word out and you can get and interview those people that are certified to do those jobs, to fill those positions, okay? This talks about the IT life cycle. Think about that in terms of development of product and release of that product to the floor. The big thing is we want to make sure that what we do in IT adds value to the business. That third bullet down in the second section second bullet, alignment of business and IT goals. That's what we're talking about. The IT organization needs to ensure that what we do adds value to the business. If it doesn't add value to the business or support adding value to the business in some way, shape, or form, we shouldn't be doing it. Okay? Within the IT organization, we're the ones that worry about risk, we're the ones that worry about technology, we're the ones that worry about all those things that stop us from getting a job done. The business side wants to be transparent to that. They're having us do it because they don't want to deal with that. They want to be able to go use a service, apply it to the business needs, add value to the business, and that's it. Everything behind that is ours in IT. This also talks about, we're going to talk about managing technology and continuous improvement. Why do we want to continually improve? Well, first off, because technology changes, because things change. The business changes. And in fact, we put things together the first time. How many times have you put something together and a month later you say, oh, if I do this, it'll be better. And a month later it's something else. Why? We want to keep improving. We want to be state of the art. We want the users of our services to understand that, hey, they're not going to find it any better anyplace else. Okay? That's really where we're coming from. Now, there are 5 books. There used to be 30, 40. I don't remember the exact number. Now it's gone down to 5 books. I apologize. I just disconnected someone on purpose. Service strategy, service design, transition, operation, continual service improvement. Okay? These are the 5 books. We're going to go through each of these 5 and give you an idea what they're about from an overview perspective. Okay? This is how it all fits together. We look at continual service improvement. And when we go to work every day, what are we looking for? Where does the business want to be down the road? What is the strategy? What's the strategy for the business? How do I take that strategy, service strategy, and how do I take and use that to create my service design, build my applications? How do I transition that to the operations environment to ensure that operations can do that job in a crisp, clear, effective manner at the same time across this whole border? Continual service improvement. Service strategies, move to service design, to transitions, to ops, surrounded by continual service improvement. This has value to the business. I change something in service ops, that adds value to service ops, but when I add ops, transition, design, strategy together, I get more and more value to the business, the overall business. Okay? Now, there is a product called the portfolio that we deal with. And the portfolio says, what are the things that we in IT have to support? Because what we're talking about is service strategy, design, transition, and ops, and then continual service improvement. But think about this, and let me break it into some pieces for you. I'm going to start in the middle here. Service ops is a catalog. It has a catalog. And a catalog is a list of all of the services that are provided. So someplace in there for your company is email. Someplace in there for your company is a web page or a site that you go to look at your retirement availability. Someplace is a package you go to look at for your medical coverage. You know, all those, how do I fill out an expense account? All those services that are provided are listed in a catalog. Okay? So that's the heart and soul. Part of that catalog may be, well, we don't use that service anymore, so we retire it. So that service catalog has active and it has retired. By the way, we may have vendors that provide services for us, and they have a service catalog. That's all in here too. So every single service that is provided to any user is in the catalog. Now, that doesn't mean everybody has access to them all. Right? Now, over here we have what's called the pipeline. And the pipeline is, somebody says, you know, gee, wouldn't it be neat to have this service? And that goes in a pipeline. Oh, wait a minute, that's not a, we don't even know what we're talking about yet. I don't care, put it in a pipeline. Because the pipeline is any service we thought about doing, any potential service that may show up, services that are in process of being designed for implementation, and when they're completion of design, they have been tested and they have been transitioned to operations, they go in a catalog. Okay, so this portfolio is everything either in the wind coming down the road, retired, or active today that we provide as services to our user community. Okay? How much do you want ITIL to cover within your corporation? How wide, how deep, how much? Do they need to be involved in all the pieces? Do they need to be involved in your company strategy? Do they need to be involved in your design and development? I know they need to be involved in getting that design development work to the operator. transition from development to the floor operation, okay? So I'm cool there, okay? What are all the processes? What knowledge do I save? Where do I put that knowledge? How do I handle all the knowledge? In your day-to-day business, you learn something almost every day. You will learn something. It may be important, may not be important, but you tend to, if you're not learning every day or every couple days or at least once a week, you got a problem. You're either the most brilliant person in the building or in the world, okay? Or you really don't want to learn and you're in a rut and you don't care if you ever get out of the rut, okay? So the idea is to be able to give information to everybody in the organization, help everybody get smart. We want everybody in the organization to be as smart as the smartest person in the organization. Oh, wait a minute. I'm the smartest person in the organization. Why do I want everybody to be as smart as I am? Then I won't be as valuable as I am. Ah, you're wrong. Your value is not in how smart you are. Your value is in how many people you make as smart as you are. That's value to the business. That's driving value to the business. Now, ITS service management also makes it easy to incorporate organizational change. And in fact, when we talk about it, you're going to see that it may require organizational change, physical change, establishment of certain groups. Don't let that scare you off, okay? Those things can be flattened. Now, there are other frameworks, project management, STLM, no, STLC, software development life cycles, okay? Governance tends to be, because remember, you're going to see in ITIL words that are spelled English language wise versus American wise. The word government to the UK is a high level management that is the overview responsibility to make sure all things are fitting together. How mature is your organization? I will venture to say, you have a question about project management maturity, you can go to people and ask for a survey, and they will give you a survey and come back and tell you how mature your organization is. Well, we do ITIL. How mature is your organization from an ITIL perspective? How mature are they at being able to accept change? Because ITIL is change. Okay. Now there is an international standards organization, and they have standards. They have quality standards. They have project management standards. So those things that are in ITIL, those are, and I'm not sure what standards are under. Quality, I think, is 20,000. Project managers, 22,000. I think. I don't, because that's overseas. That's the European environment generally. Okay, I don't know what those numbers are. I do know we can go there and look for their standards to see how they match our standards. Okay. What makes success with ITIL? Like everything else, you need strong executive leaders. One of the things when you go to implement ITIL, and we're going to talk about the implementation, when you go to implement ITIL, first thing you need to do is sit down with your executive managers and say, here's what we want to do. Here's what it accomplishes from a business value. And when they say go, then you go. If they're wishy-washy, I'm telling you right now, the odds of success implementing ITIL drop significantly, okay? This says find out where I am today. What's the plan? Where am I today? Where do I want to be? How do I get there? Define roles and responsibilities. People need to understand their job. So when we go through this transition period, there's going to be people that have to be educated beyond the foundation level. They have to go through the other levels to become practitioners at those levels. Everybody needs to be prepared to do their job. This is not a simple transition. To implement ITIL, across an entire corporation, we're talking about 3 to 5 years, just generally, just so you know. What are the key performance indicators? Well, key performance indicators are the measurements, the metrics. So when I look at how do I determine what my success factors are, KPIs, key performance indicators, are how I measure those. It's the metrics for measurement, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit generally from a service design standpoint, okay? We have inputs to these and also some outputs. Service design, strategy, transition, ops, improvement. Generally, the high level is service strategy. What does my company think my service strategy should be? What do we want to be doing? How do we want to handle things? That's the executive management level. Does your company have a strategic plan, period? Scratch the word service. Do they have a strategic plan? Have you read the strategic plan? Yes. Do they have a strategic service strategy plan? Where do I want to be to 5 to 7 years from now with my service? What's available, what services are out there, and how I support them. Service design talks about actually the implementation of those things that are in the strategy. Okay? Now, there's a ton of things we're going to talk about. There's a service portfolio. This is IT over here. There's service level agreements, the business processes, service level agreements, tie those together. There's a thing called a service level manager who ties all that together. Okay, so this here, these people in service design, they're putting the product together that was identified in the strategy document. Transition is moving it to ops. CSI says, I always want to, on a continuing basis. Okay, so this overview generally talks about how I would tie those things together. Okay. Service transition says, how do I move all those things we've developed in design to the plant floor? How do I give them to operations? Well, you're going to see in all these things, there's continual service improvement that happens all the time, and there's knowledge management happens all the time, okay? Now, in service transition, this says one of 3 or 4 things. First off, do I have a new service? Do I have a change service? Am I retiring a service? So all these are changes to our operational environment. Nothing gets accomplished without going through change management. Change management approves. Change management looks at requests for change, does the analysis of them, presents the change request before the change board, depending on whether you call it a change advisory or change review. ITIL tends to call it a change advisory board. Okay, they're going to tell you what they think, not direct you. Okay, you're going to create these requests for changes. We're going to decide what service needs to be done. What does this affect in my entire organization in terms of service? Does this new service affect previous ones on the floor? Is this a change to an existing service? Is this a fix to an existing problem with the service? This is that control factor that says we really have to understand how to make sure we are in control of all these things. Okay? So all these updates and all these things that have been ready to go test from a final stage, they're tested here individually. Okay? But now they go to transition, and transition says, I am going to test those again. So service strategy design, this is transition, says, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to do a release package. I'm going to put the things together in a package that I'm going to deliver to the floor. I'm going to, when I say put them together, they use the term build. I'm going to build a package. I'm going to test that package. I'm going to test that package not only for individual things, I'm going to test that package on a system basis to see how it works for other things out there. Because when I come into transition, I know exactly for every single thing, every service, I know what it uses. Now, it may use servers, it may use printers, it may use whatever, and I go to a database I have and I can look at each of those items, printers and servers and all those things, and find out, do they link to something else in my environment? If they do, the person that does the build and test says, oh, I better test those things that I haven't really tweaked in this release, but in fact, I know that this server talks to that one. So I'm going to test that secondary one because what I have changed in this build may impact something else. That's where we get stopped to a high degree, where we try to prevent fixing 5 things and breaking more than we fix, okay? Because that's where the issue has always been before. So we could do pilot programs, and at some point in time, we're totally tested, and on a methodological manner. We do releases every Thursday, 3 p.m. in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, so then we put that transfer to ops. When transition finishes and they move that to ops, that should have been thoroughly tested, and success rate should be 100%. If not, well, we really missed something and we need to learn from it. We need to fix it. But more importantly, in transition, when we transition to a new environment, we also want to be able to immediately remove that new environment and replace it with the old one. We need to be able to back down into a previous release and get the system up and running in its previous state. That's a requirement now under ITIL, okay? Operations are all those things that fit into the plant floor, okay? Services, the whole hardware, software infrastructure, all our users. We have a service desk. I don't see it here. If we talk in detail about it, this service desk is a function. Okay, these access management, event management, problem management, those are processes. Service desk is a function. Hardware is a function. Applications is a function. Plant floor operations management is a function. Okay. Other than that, everything we talk about tends to be processes within one of the 5 books. Okay, just so you know. CSI. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be in 5 years? I'll give you an example. Company says, oh, I know there's a lot of cash registers, man. Those Walmarts and those Kmarts and the food store, they got a lot of cash registers out there. That must be a good business. You know what I think? Subject matter experts. I want to have a manufacturing environment in place. I want to be able to have a marketing group in place, sales group in place. Okay. How do I get there? Well, I think I need these people. Well, let's go list those people and put a target in place on how many you would want to get done in a certain amount of time. Right? Salespeople, how many salespeople you want? How do you train those salespeople? We need measurable targets that we want to get to. And the next question is, okay, I understand I'm nowhere now. I got this great big grandiose plan of where I want to get to. How do I get there? This is service and process improvement. They're thinking in terms of applications, okay? I'm thinking in terms of the broad picture. How do I get there? Well, I got to put a hiring thing in place. I got to put a structure in place that says these are the different levels of people and how many I want here and how many I want there, okay? And then at some point in time, probably based on sales and or revenue or something like that, in 3 to 5 years, I have to measure, I have to look at it and say, did I get where I planned to be 3 years ago? Or in 7 years, did I get where I planned to be 7 years ago? Okay. Yes, no, yeah, let's go back and put some more targets in place. Well, I got 30% of the point of sale business today. How do I get more? What's the process to get more? So that's what CSI is all about. Where do I want to be? Where am I now? Where do I want to get there? What do I have to do to get there? And after I implement that, did I get there? If in fact I did, let me go through the loop again. If you have ever talked to anybody or about weight control or been on a weight control plan, and you know you need to lose 40 pounds, what do you say? Well, I'm 215. I want to get down to 205. 10 pounds. Why? You want attainable goals. So when we talk about this, we're going to put attainable goals in place. Do I lose 40 eventually? Yeah, by repeating the 10 target 4 times. Attainable. So when we look at these things under CSI, we have targets to meet too. We want to make those 10. Don't make them crazy. Don't make them crazy. Well, I have none of the business now. I want to have 80% of the business in 3 years. That's insane. You want to make sure they are attainable. Now, what does this do for me, Al? Well, first off, there's a whole bunch of steps to go through in the learning process. There is a career path in service delivery, and that career path may be within your company, or it may be external to your company, okay? But that's up to you. The flip side of that from a business standpoint is improved value to the business. More knowledge being brought into the business, more knowledge being disseminated to employees. There are companies that will not deal with you from that software perspective if in fact you are not an idle shop. Why? Well, if you're an idle shop, it says the things you put out on the floor, and as a result, the things you deliver to me as a service have been much better tested, have had a more methodical approach from design, development, release to the floor. So when I need a service, I can go up and get it. Now, this is the qualification process. I just want to walk you through this to give you an idea, and I'll explain up the top level ITIL Master so you know what it is. I am a certification planners. I am one of their Master ITIL instructors. I am not an ITIL Master in ITIL's terminology. I want to make very clear about that. I'm an ITIL expert. Right now, first class is foundation. You get 2 points for passing the exam. The next one is practitioner, which is in the process of being released. So you will see practitioner classes coming up. And again, it's worth 2 points. Okay? So you do foundations, then you do practitioner. Then you decide, where do I want to go? Do I want to go up to the lifecycle side, or do I want to go to capability module side? And on a life cycle side, each class is worth 3 points, and they may be from 3 to 5 days long. On a capability side, they're probably 4 or 5 days. They're worth 4 points each when you pass the exam. Those exams generally are multiple choice, A, B, C, D, okay? Once you go through those, you accumulate a number of points, and let me do my math here. So 2 plus 2 is 4, and let's say 12 is 16. Let's say 4 and 3 is 9. Now let's say 12. So I take these two and I take these, 12 points out of these, 3 here or 4 here, 12 points either way. I now have 16. I can sit the managing through the life cycle. Okay, that's 5 points. So I'm wrong. I got to do, in order to get to there, I need to do 4 and 15 there, 16 there. 4 and 15 would be 19, and 5 would be 24. You need 22 credits to get to expert. This would be 5, whatever your mix is here. Generally, they say to this side or they say to that side. Does that say you can't take 2 here and 2 there? No, it doesn't. You can do that. There's no restriction that I know of, okay? But you need a total of 22 points to be an expert, so that's 5, 17 down below here somehow, okay? The exam for this is called MALC, Managing Through not MTLC, it's MALC, I don't remember the exact terminology, but it's Managing Through the Life Cycle. That you get to expert. Now, that's today. There were opportunities to get to expert without taking these level of classes previously. It was based on experience, it was based on other classes. So if you say, well, I was what was considered to be an ITIL, a Master ITIL practitioner, I can't remember the terminology, version 2, and you took the exam and you became a version 3 ITIL expert, you didn't have to sit all these classes here. You basically only sat this class. You didn't sit all these classes, you didn't pass all these. Guess what? You can teach this exam, and that exam. You can't teach these because you personally did not pass those exams. If I wanted as an ITIL expert to go down back and teach these exams, give these exams, teach these classes, I would have to go back and take them in order to teach them. I have to take all 5 of these classes to be able to teach those 5. So people could be a service strategy practitioner, okay? So just so you know, when it says ITIL expert, ask the question, are you qualified to teach the class we're asking you to teach? This company, yes, they are. You are. So if somebody teaches service operations, I will tell you they are service operations qualified, just so you know. ITIL Master, let me talk a minute about that. ITIL Master is by invitation. You don't go say, hey, I want to be an ITIL Master. You notice there's no exam between expert and master. Well, there's none identified there. Well, let me tell you how it works. Somebody in the UK at Axilos, or maybe now CERT, the group that I mentioned, is going to take over Axilos for the US. That may be given to them that ability. I don't know yet. They will say, hey, you want to be a master? Why don't you come over here and take the masters? And you say, okay, what's involved? Well, let me tell you what's involved. First off, you have to come to the UK for 2 weeks for a couple of weeks of training. You have to take a master's exam. Oh, and by the way, you have to do a dissertation. And a dissertation is you need to take an implementation you have done for a company, write it in the mode of a dissertation, and present it to us over the course of a day or 2, explaining everything you did, what the good things were, what the bad things were, how things went well, how things went bad. Give us all the information on an entire implementation. And then we'll make a decision whether you qualify to be an ITIL master. Okay? There are ITIL experts in this country that have all the qualifications for ITIL master, but have opted not to do, even after invitation, the ITIL master. Because, what did I say? You have to take all of that information from your client, and it now becomes public knowledge. Clients don't want that out in the public environment. So it's difficult to find someone that will allow you to make all of their internal information public. Okay, so ITIL masters, are there some people doing it? Yes. Are there some ITIL masters? Yes. But there are a lot of qualified people, one of which is a very good personal friend of mine, that has all of the certifications, has passed every single one of the exams you see on this page, and has refused going to ITIL master because the companies he deals with do not want their information made public. So in most of your cases, the people you deal with will be ITIL experts, just so you know. Everything's available as instructor-led and virtual, live over the web, call it that, virtual, okay? They're available. The trainers we have that do the intermediate classes have all passed those intermediate exams, and they're experts at what they do. And in fact, those people that have passed the intermediate exams are probably, just because of the nature of our business, ITIL experts. Because once you pass those intermediate exams, the feeling is, you know, I'm almost that expert, let me go do expert. Okay? I mean, generally that's the feeling, just so you know, okay? All certifications, foundations through managing at, I knew there was a letter in there, boy was that, wasn't the one they had, managing at that level, okay? Workshops, this helps people to learn the process, briefing, strategic planning. We can come into companies and assist with that process. Okay, now, just to throw something else in, spread that across that entire set of courseware and or certifications I talked about back on slide 1, 2, 3, wherever it was. We can do the same thing for Six Sigma. We can do the same thing for project management. Oh, you want to start a project management office? We can come in and help you with that. Okay? So we can do the training, but we can also do the assessment as to what training would be best for what you want to accomplish. Don't take training because somebody said this is a good course, go take it. Take training because it adds value to your business. That's really what you want to do. Okay? Foundations, prereq. It says 2.5 days in classroom, 3 days. Half day for the exam. If you are in a classroom environment, you will be administered the exam at the end of the class. Those of us that teach foundations generally are also proctors. If not, they can bring a proctor in. I happen to be a foundations instructor. I'm also a certified proctor. The term used by ITIL is invigilator. I am an ITIL invigilator. I can administer the exam. It's stringent rules on administering the exam, I will tell you that. Okay? If you ever taken this exam in class, you will say, I can't do anything with the exams except for the intent of the exam. Okay? Third afternoon. In some cases, you may get a voucher, and you can take it later. I think you're better off taking it almost immediately. And if you get a voucher, take it within 2 or 3 days of the exam. Go home, find all the practice exams you can get your hand on, do the practice exams, then take the exam. It does require homework. There are things you're going to be asked to do at home because you can't cover everything you need to cover in the 2.5 days. we'll have that for you. The Lifecycle Classes, Strategy, Design, Transition, Ops Support. This says 3 days, 1 exam per book. This is managers are the intended audience. When you get into service, transition, and ops, I think you can look to the practitioners, maybe design from a software standpoint, but transition and ops, you might look to those people that are going to be the practitioners for those areas. They may be a good audience also. But this tends to be aimed at how do I put this information into operation in a logical manner. Capability, service offerings and agreements, planning, protection, optimization, release, control, validation, support and analysis. These are operational things, okay? That's the capability side. The other side is the, let me back over. If I can back up, the other side is the life cycle. This side is the capability side. Well, you can go up either side or use a mix of the classes to get the number of points you need to sit through the MALC 5-day class and sit that examination, okay? $17 credits, it says, to enter the course. Okay. In some case, because of the mix of how points you get for classes, you may end up with more. And you need at least 17 to get the MALC. MALC is 5, then 22. Okay. In the back of my mind, because practitioner, the one between foundations and intermediate courses, that one called practitioner, that's 2 points. The value to get to expert went from 21 to 22. So they only went up 1 point. So maybe I'm missing something else, but it's 22 points. Okay. When you pass your foundations class, you get a square pin. I think it's light blue color, if I remember right off the top of my head. When you get to expert, you get the same square pin, but the color is green. I think it's green. So there's different colors that on different classes. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I don't wear that pin particularly. I don't tend to wear pins on my suit coat. Personal. I don't want to advertise what I've got accomplished. I want to deliver what you need to get your job done. Master certification, we talked about that. Think university master's program. You have to have 5 years of ITIL implementation. Written thesis on an ITIL project. Again, a lot of companies don't want to release that information. More than 5 and less than 25 in the US. Okay? And again, the reason for some of that is they don't want to be able, they don't have the ability to make all the information they would have in an ITIL implementation available to the public. Okay? That friend of mine has every one, and he said, I'm not going to do the masters because I don't want to make that information, put it in the public domain. Downside, company doesn't want to release it, I mentioned that. Proprietary information. It's public. Trains your competition on what to do, okay? So I want to tell you all the things I did, all the neat tricks I used to accomplish a major implementation. Doesn't that make you, wait a minute, let me stop. What did I say earlier? I said make everybody as smart as you are. Well, within your organization, I don't necessarily mean make your competition as smart as you are, okay? But within your organization, you want everybody to be learning constantly, okay? Most companies don't want to give me permission to go do that. What's the value to the business? I can do things quicker because ITIL is flowchart wacko. They do more flow charts than you can possibly imagine. Why? Because if I have a document in place with a flow chart, and each box within that flow chart has supporting documentation, if you are out today, I can move somebody else in to do your job almost as good as you can. Maybe even better, okay, depending upon their skill level. But think about that. Value to the business, transportability. I can move people around. What if I have an opportunity to get a big business contract and my person that I would pick to do that happens to be tied up on something else in ITIL? I have all this documentation. I've got it all written down. I can take that individual, offer them this opportunity, and they have the ability to leave, full well knowing their previous job is not going down the tubes because somebody has taken the opportunity to write it all down. Organizationally, we get much better, okay? Dollar-wise, we've written all these things down. People don't have to think about what they have to do. Checklists. Do you have a checklist? Do you have a to-do list? Why do you have a to-do list? Because you forget things. I have a to-do list and I forget where I put the to-do list. No, it's not quite that bad. But think about that. The more we document, the better we are. What we want to do is we want to make better use of our IT resources so they can deliver the services they're required to, which makes the business side have those services available where they can go do their job and deliver value to the business. Do it right the first time? Isn't that the definition of quality? Doing the right thing right the first time. Thank you.